Hello and welcome to the award-winning Waterman Wellness, your pathway to health and wellness with local experts as your guides. I'm Jenna Kreger. We have important health and wellness information for all ages in this episode, including what should expectant moms know to prepare for their new arrival. Our local experts explain why each pregnancy is different. If you ever spend any time outdoors, you'll want to take note. A Lake County specialist will explain warning signs for skin cancer. And children with asthma can still remain active. We'll hear from a Tavares pediatrician with important guidance. First, we focus on diabetes, a disease that can cause serious complications for its sufferers. Diabetes can affect people of all ages, but the risk for type 2 diabetes increases with age.
There are 29.1 million people in the U.S. that has diabetes. Out of that, 60 to 70% will develop some type of nerve problem or neuropathy or an insensate loss of sensation to your feet. That puts you at risk for diabetic ulcers because you don't feel, and when you walk around, you just don't feel. Lifestyle affects everything in terms of diabetes and foot health. Keeping a proper diet and exercise, which I inform everyone. If you come in for diabetes, I try to educate everyone on exercising, getting the blood to flow, the circulation, wearing the proper shoes, not wearing shoes that are too tight or too loose.
Vasco Waters of Mount Dora had been experiencing discomfort due to his diabetes, but an eye-opening experience prompted him to get help from Dr. Balcaran.
I basically was in the mall one day and I saw a guy that was much bigger than myself and his legs were black, and that concerned me. I said, I will never want to be in that position, and that's when I made a decision to correct where I was and to get out from being a diabetic. I had no balance issues other than my feet hurt continuously around the clock, and I knew that I needed to correct those.
Dr. Balcaran helped Waters get his foot pain under control and offered advice on how to take care of his feet.
Every day you should check your feet. You should inspect your feet in between your toes, the bottom of your feet, your nails. Make sure that you have no cuts, bruises, or anything. If you have deformities like bunions or hammer toes, anything that can put pressure to the sides or the top or bottom of your feet, you need to make sure they're padded and wear shoes that's appropriate, so not allowing any pressure areas to your foot to allow any risk for ulcerations. I tell patients, inspect your feet. Get a mirror somewhere in a corner that you don't frequently go to, and then you can put it over the glass or the plastic reflectory and take a look at your feet at the bottom, because there's so many times that patients don't know there's something wrong there unless it starts bleeding.
I've also, for the last 2 years, been on a weight program, and as officially the last lab test I had done, I'm no longer a diabetic.
For me, diabetes is very personal. I've lost my dad to diabetic complications. I was just 19 years old, so I'm very, not stern, but very encouraging to diabetic patients because of the amputation and the risk of amputations that happen.
You'll find information about diabetes education courses and other resources at conrecreationhealth.com. Next, we have insight from a local pediatrician about how to help children maintain a healthy lifestyle when they've been diagnosed with asthma. Children have smaller airways than adults, which makes asthma especially serious for them. According to experts, approximately 9 million children in the United States have asthma. Exercise can prompt asthma attacks that include shortness of breath, coughing, and wheezing. But Tavares pediatrician Dennis Diaz says children with asthma can still participate in activity.
Exercise is extremely important for good health, so we want them to be able to play without fear of their asthma. Having that rescue inhaler at hand. Often kids whose trigger is exercise, they may need a couple puffs of their rescue inhaler before they go outside and play or before they participate in sports. So that's very important. Some kids may benefit from long-term control medication to help prevent their flare-ups with exercise.
Dr. Diaz says there are triggers to avoid to help prevent asthma flare-ups.
So clean air is extremely important. So the clean air, the better. Avoiding tobacco smoke, avoiding chemicals in the air, air freshener, sanitizers in the air, perfumes, colognes, anything that shouldn't be in the air that's going into those lungs can potentially trigger an asthma attack. There are many professional athletes with asthma, and they're able to perform at very high levels despite their asthma. As long as it's managed very closely with their pediatrician, they may need some long-term medication. It's super important to have that rescue inhaler always at hand.
You can find a specialist to help your family cope with asthma by visiting the website on your screen. Our next story is important for all residents of Lake County, whether adult or child. Because of our location, everyone's risk for skin cancer is elevated. Local experts want you to know the warning signs.
You know, here in Florida, sunshine is God's gift to us, but too much sunshine can cause a lot of problems. There's two kinds of skin cancers that in general we worry about. There's the melanoma kind, and those are the cancers that originate from the melanin cells. And then there's the non-melanoma kind, and most people know that kind. They're both basal cell and squamous cell. Skin damage is not just one-time thing. It's a cumulative thing. It's the degree of sunlight exposure or sunshine exposure you've been exposed to throughout your life. So we'd like to think of the second kind, the non-melanoma, as the most common, and usually it arises in the places where you get sunshine. You know, your arms, your face, your forehead. Those are the areas that are the most common.
While not as common, Dr. Al-Hazuri says melanoma skin cancer is aggressive and dangerous.
Melanoma, by definition, usually is pigmented, meaning it's darker. It changes with time, and I'm not talking years, I'm talking, weeks to months. It changes, especially grows. Usually they talk about, the borders being jagged, not smooth. If there's ulceration, if there's bleeding, if it's painful, those are all things that suggest a more aggressive form of an issue rather than a more benign form. So I would encourage anyone that has any abnormality on their skin, whether it be a dark spot that they're worried about, especially if it's growing, it's ulcerating, it's bleeding, it's painful, it's tender, to have their doctor take a look at it. It takes all but 2-3 seconds for the doctor to tell whether it's something that should be biopsied, investigated further or not.
Richard Conger of Eustis was treated for skin cancer at Florida Hospital Waterman. His successful outcome was reason enough for him to continue being diligent.
To take care of myself now, I'm very conscious of anything that shows up, any kind of spots or anything on my skin, arms, face, and ears. Anything that's exposed to the sun a lot. I've acquired a broad brim hat, and I keep sunblock handy in my car, in my workshop, and everywhere that I'm at, so I can put it on when I need it, and just be more aware.
If you'd like more information about cancer resources, visit the website fhwatermancancer.com. It's time to take a short break, but we'll have plenty more when Waterman Wellness continues. A community leader is taking on a new role at a local hospital. We'll explain. We'll visit the Con Recreation Health Center, where you'll meet our new kitchen team and learn a delicious meatless recipe. And if starting a family or growing your existing one is in your plans, you'll want to stay tuned for helpful information from our experts. You'll find additional health and wellness information in Waterman Wellness magazine, and visit watermanwellness.com to arrange for home delivery, and you'll also find a listing of the specialists featured in this month's episode. First, Waterman Wellness has the following community events you might want to attend. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the award-winning Waterman Wellness, your pathway to healthy living with help from local experts. I'm Jenna Kreger. Moms get a lot of extra attention during the month of May, so it's appropriate that Waterman Wellness wants to focus on preparing women who are getting ready for motherhood. Whether you're planning to start a family or have given birth previously, experts say it's important to meet with a specialist even before you get pregnant.
If you're preparing to have a child, you want to make sure that you are eating a well-balanced meal, taking supplemental vitamins, especially folic acid. Sometimes you're on certain medications that could impact the pregnancy, so speaking to a physician about that before you conceive is really, really important so that you can make alterations before it impacts childbirth.
You want to keep your weight gain in pregnancy, for the most part, between 25 pounds and 35 pounds. You want to decrease your risk of having gestational diabetes and having gestational hypertension and other complications of pregnancy.
The Tavares-based doctors say a pregnant woman's first appointment is important for the specialist to get a good snapshot of the mother's health.
A lot of the testing we do is kind of screening women who are at risk for complications during the pregnancy and making sure that their vaccination status is current and up to date. Because if you aren't current and up to date with vaccinations, pregnant women can be more susceptible to illnesses that can also affect their unborn child.
I encourage my patients to make a list of all the questions they need answered at each visit. And I'm not afraid to spend 15-20 minutes just talking about their questions. Your body's changing, your mood is changing, everything is changing around you. So there are always going to be questions. And I'd rather them ask me questions than just Google everything. It's always good to have your partner or your husband come to these visits too, so they can understand some of the changes that you're going through.
Dr. Main says a pregnant woman should meet regularly with her OBGYN even if she has given birth previously.
One of the most common thing I'll hear from not even a first-time mom, a second-time mom is like, oh, this pregnancy is much different from the last one. I didn't have any nausea, vomiting. I didn't have this or I didn't have that. And that's because each pregnancy is different. Each pregnancy should be considered, okay, this is actually my first pregnancy.
Doctors Main and Rogers say they also use the appointments to prepare the mom for labor and delivery. They also note that having the Center for Women and Children at Florida Hospital Waterman close by benefits patients.
For me, it's been great because I have peace of mind knowing that I can intervene pretty quickly if there's an emergent condition that arises during a woman's labor. I think patients also have peace of mind knowing that as well. So the Center for Women and Children being right here on site for all the physicians has been such a great and positive factor in our practice.
You'll find helpful resources for pregnant women and their families by visiting the website lakecountybaby.com. Next, we visit the Con Recreation Health Center kitchen where Caroline Rowland and the Florida Hospital Waterman team have a meatless recipe that may fool your cravings for beef.
You might be looking for some healthier options to cook for your family this summer and some alternatives to red meat. And today we have some options for you right now. We're joined with Florida Hospital Waterman Executive Chef Fred Schrager and registered dietitian Mara Gallo, who's going to tell us a little bit how we can make fungi tasty. So Mara, what are we cooking today?
Today we're making a Portobello stuffed mushroom. It's a good alternative to red meat this season.
And you were telling me a little bit about how it's good for lowering your sodium intake.
It is. Mushrooms are very high in potassium, and potassium tends to counteract the effects of sodium on blood pressure. And so by eating more mushrooms and incorporating them in our diet, people at risk for hypertension can reduce their risk.
Great, so Chef Fred, tell me a little bit about what's going into this.
Okay, so here we have a beautiful Portobello mushroom. It'll be stuffed with fresh garlic, fresh shallots, brown rice, feta cheese, pine nuts, salt-free seasoning, fresh spinach, and finishing with a little bit of lemon juice.
Great, let's get started.
Awesome. So take this beautiful Portobello mushroom, and what we want to do is we want to just take a brush and oil the outside, and we're oiling at the outside so that the mushroom does not stick and then helps it not stick to the pan. Next, we want to make sure that we're going to saute our ingredients. We're going to start with adding the remainder of the olive oil into the pan. We want to make sure that we get that a little bit hot. We want to make sure that we coat the pan evenly with the olive oil before adding our ingredients. So we'll start a little bit here with fresh garlic, fresh shallots, and what we want to do is make sure that we cook this until we're sweating the flavors here of the shallots and the fresh garlic. Make sure that they get clear in color or translucent. So we'll get that going there. Next, we want to add our fresh spinach, and we just want to make sure that we get it all in there. Next, we want to add our brown rice and be able to heat that up. pine nuts will give it a nice nutty aroma and a good flavor. And the cheese will kind of bind that together. We'll add our salt-free seasoning. Lastly, a little squirt of lemon. So that lemon juice will flavor that perfectly. And I think our stuffing is ready to put into the mushroom. And then we're ready to go into the oven. Now we'll take our stuffed portobello mushroom and we'll put that in the oven. Make sure our oven's set at 350 and you want to cook that for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now our portobello mushroom is done. What you want to look for is a nice browning crust and melted cheese. And we'll get that right on the plate there.
Looks delicious.
Looks delicious, doesn't it? Yep.
If you'd like the stuffed portobello mushroom recipe, visit watermanwellness.com. In our next story, a familiar face in the community is taking on a new role at a local hospital. Many Lake Countyans know Anita Young from her role as the Florida Hospital Waterman Foundation president. Last month, the hospital announced that Young was appointed to Chief Operating Officer. Officials credit Young with having a tremendous impact on the hospital and surrounding community since she was first hired back in 1988.
Probably some of the most dynamic parts of my career here have been the opportunity to engage with the community, raising funds to actually start our Cancer Institute. Through the years since then, I had an opportunity to take on some other departments and other parts of the hospital, just experience those as a leader, and just am very, very blessed to continue my career here.
Young has played leadership roles in initiatives to improve patient satisfaction as well as employee engagement. We hope you've enjoyed this month's episode of Waterman Wellness, your pathway to healthy living with help from local experts. Be sure to watch for the June episode right here on Lake Sumter TV for some of the following stories. We'll turn our attention to the guys and share important information about a 5-second screening that could add years to a man's life. This local surgeon enlists some quick-thinking kids in teaching a lesson about cardiac emergencies. And we'll head back to the Con Recreation Health Center kitchen where Chef Fred will show us how to toss together a delicious summer salad in minutes. To learn more about the experts featured in this program, please visit watermanwellness.com. Until next time, I'm Jenna Kreger for the award-winning Waterman Wellness.